Welcome to Oilers Nation Everyday with your hosts, Tyler and Liam.
The Golden Knights lost on home ice, hey? Jack Eichel was a wild disappointment. And Carter Hart couldn't take off his helmet because he was crying so hard. That's a shame. Let's get into it with the lead. Me showing up to my biggest hater's funeral. I mean, little cuck energy to be like celebrating them losing, but that organization doesn't deserve a lot of good stuff, so I'm all good with it, Liam.
I'm chilling.
My hatred
Glad it's over.
My hatred for the Golden Knights outweighs my hatred for the Hurricanes, because that hatred for the Canes, those feelings are 20 years ago. Like, I really didn't care. I didn't care one way or the other watching the Canes lift the Stanley Cup.
No, and they didn't beat the Oilers. That series ended 3-3 famously.
Mm-hmm.
One of three to end in a tie. That's the first time I've watched someone lift the Stanley Cup in 3 seasons.
I was sitting there, I was like, this is great. Like, all these guys are crying. And,
yeah, it's cool.
Wow, I haven't seen this in a while. And that's because 2 years ago I was on the ice. Last year, the second that game ended, TV off.
Yeah, that
Bye-bye.
was it for me. Game 7, once that was done, that was a quick turn off.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it was cool. Jordan Staal, congrats. Oldest, what do they call it? Conn Smythe winner ever?
Yeah, oldest Conn Smythe. And Gary Bettman made sure to hit that note.
Yeah.
He stopped short of basically being like, come here, you old fuck. Come get your Conn Smythe.
Come get it. If you can still lift it, you old bastard.
Yep. But anyways, the Stanley Cup Final is over. The 2025-26 season is over. But we are still here, and we're still live from the Sports Closet studio. Check them out online at sportscloset.ca. We are a presentation of Bet365. Hockey fans, take advantage of Bet365's 3-goal early payout. When the team you're riding with goes up 3, you get paid. It is that simple. Download the app today. Must be 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Jeff Marek is going to be swinging by today on the program once he's done with the sheet over on dailyfaceoff.com.
Yep.
He's going to pop over and help us, I guess, put a bow on the season and on the Stanley Cup Final. So that'll be fun. I always look forward to having Jeff on the show, but we're officially in off-season mode, and it's kind of a matter of when we start to see big news come through.
I think probably within the next week we'll start to hear a little bit more.
Yeah.
I would imagine. It's kind of nice that the Stanley Cup ends on a Sunday. Now these guys have Monday off. Let's get to work on Tuesday, though.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a few things, because Freeman didn't have a lot to report today on 32 Thoughts. Just a lot of Cup stuff, and Makes sense.
Was there anyone? So Jordan Martinook, a guy who's from around these parts,
yep.
AJHL product.
I see him at the arena all the time.
That was cool. He's one of those people that you just hear really great things about on a pretty regular basis. So He's a lovable character that has a ring. I'll be honest, seeing the gray in Taylor Hall's beard when he lifted up that
crazy.
Cup, it's a good reminder that time stops for absolutely nobody. The Freddie thing was good that they gave it to Freddie first. I thought that was a nice touch, but yeah, Taylor Hall gets the Stanley Cup third in the order. And he was an important piece. Like, he legitimately had an outside Conn Smythe argument.
Arguably could have won it.
Like, Greg Wyshynski and a bunch of the guys who had covered Carolina the whole run, they all voted Hall over Staal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for the Conn Smythe.
I mean, I have it up here. He had 7 goals, 19 points. Obviously had what would have been the game-winning goal as well. And this one, that third line was pretty... Was it a third line, second line, whatever it was? Stankov and Blake and Hall was really good. All playoffs. So, yeah, he did great. And also, too, in his post-game, he said, I feel very rejuvenated. How did they get him again? I was trying to figure that out.
He was a captain from Chicago when they were doing the Rantanen incident thing, right?
Right.
Rantanen got double retained.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I don't remember him playing on Colorado. I forgot he was on Chicago.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a crazy deal.
Yeah, it's wild. It's a long list of really good, smart moves that Eric Tulsky's made in his time as the Canes GM. So, again, we'll talk more about how that Carolina team was built with Jeff Marek. I also want to say, for the people on YouTube, we are having just a dog shit internet day here.
Did it happen already?
Nation HQ? No.
Oh, hasn't happened yet.
But I'm just pre-warning them that if something happens and our stream goes away, it'll probably just bounce back in a minute.
So basically, be fair warned, it might cut out a couple times. It's happened all weekend, I guess. It happened on the sauce today. Just hit refresh if it's failing for you. If you lose the audio, just hit refresh. You'll be good.
They're such an interesting team, aren't they, Carolina? Just like, I know we're going to talk about the way they were built with Jeff and all that stuff, but just kind of like Bettman said on the things, in the last 8 years, no one has won more regular season games. And I'll be honest, basically the entire time they were on this run, I thought Carolina's still not winning the Stanley Cup. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that team where you don't really see it coming because you don't feel like... It's wrong. I don't mean it quite in a way. It's just a lack of a better term. Like, don't feel like winners. They just feel like the team that's like happy to be there. I was like, we'll keep coming back. See what happens next year. And then it happened.
But in a way, as much as they were the butt of a lot of jokes, and at the trade deadline this year, they were called one of the losers because it was like the East is so wide open and you did nothing. Carolina's been pretty steadfast in their approach that, like, hey, if we continually get to the second and the third round, if we continually have a team that is good enough to push and go on deep runs, eventually things will break your way. So that's why, like, they lost 3 games en route to winning the Stanley Cup.
It's actually an insane stat.
That's bonkers,
I
man.
thought you pointed it out great on Twitter last night.
I did, and 6,000 people agreed with me. I just, that level of dominance, and when I tweeted it, like, there's a good amount of responses where people are like, oh, but look at the competition. They didn't have to play a Florida, and Florida, blah, blah, blah.
They weren't good enough to get there.
Oh, my God. 16-3 against other playoff teams.
Yes.
Vegas swept Colorado. Like, the idea that Vegas was some slouches isn't true, and the final 7 periods of this Stanley Cup final were purely dominated by Carolina.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, Brandon Bussi obviously made a huge difference for them as well when he came in. And Freddie was great throughout the run as well. But it did seem like when Bussi came in, like those saves he was making in the third period yesterday. Like, I didn't watch what would have been the 2008 Cup Final between Pittsburgh and Detroit. But do you remember that save at the end when, like, Fleury like, just, like, so crazily?
Yeah.
I kind of got those vibes a bit yesterday from Bussi. He was just like, I just have to stop it. And, like, no matter what, he was just, like, kind of throwing himself in position.
That one where he's sitting on his ass and just puts his hands up and Hurdle fires it at him?
That's, like, something you probably see in men's league after a guy went too far back on his heels and fell.
Yeah.
You know? And, yeah, they're a wild team. And the one part on the broadcast, which I think is interesting in 2 ways, they said Carolina has $12 million in cap space. Currently, they had $12 million this season.
Yeah, but they also have $12 million this summer, so I don't know if that's an outdated number, but they did have cap space.
Yeah. But the other one was their owner is Tom Dundon, right?
Yeah.
Tom Dundon. Tony Dungan is the football guy.
Tony Dungy is a football coach. Yeah. Tom Dundon owns the Hurricanes.
But he's the Portland Trailblazers
new owner.
Too. And he's getting a ton of criticism for the way he like spends his money. And I just thought that was very interesting in terms of, like, they've been able to build a winner in the NHL. And it's such, like, a world where if you're not hitting the cap, like the ceiling of the cap, everyone's question is like, what are you doing? Like, think of the $8 million player you could have, $12 million player. And they just did it their own way, and it worked. They're a really interesting case. And they just got a bunch of hockey bloggers running the ship.
They do. Like, Tyler Dello and all those guys.
Well, even Tulsky, wasn't he a blogger?
Yeah, he was an OG blogger, data guy.
Crazy. There you go.
Oh, Eric Tulsky, this was tweeted in 2014. I can understand why the default would be to trust that NHL teams more about every aspect of the game than random bloggers. Well, Eric, I think you've turned that on its head a little bit. Someone in the chat remembered in November when we were throwing out trade ideas. And I was like, would you throw Brandon Bussi for Troy Stetcher?
Oh.
Because remember, at that time, Kochetkov was coming back. The Canes were carrying 3 goalies. Bussi was a waiver claim from Florida in October. Yeah. And I was like, well, surely they're not trading Kochetkov. They like Freddie Anderson. They're not just going to keep Brandon Bussi and 3 goalies all year.
Well, they did.
Well, no, Kochetkov got hurt again in December, and then they never had to really deal with the problem. And Brandon Bussi had an incredible season. So, but like, there's an interesting part of the goaltending conversation in all of this. Mm-hmm. You know, Vegas having Carter Hart, not Aiden Hill, is their goalie.
Well, even Aiden Hill, like before that, right? Like he was kind of a no one. He was
thrown away from San Jose.
Yeah.
But the guy who got to throw his glove and blocker in the air and win the Stanley Cup this year was on waivers to start the season.
Crazy, he lost 3 games all season. Because he didn't lose in the playoffs.
Didn't lose in the playoffs, correct?
Wasn't he 27 and
Well,
3?
he would have gotten technically tagged with that OT loss in the comeback.
So he lost. Oh, no, sorry. He was 6. My
8.
bad. He lost 9 games all season.
9 games all year.
Either way, the number's absurd.
That is wild. And again, a waiver claim. Who, his numbers fell off a cliff late in the season, and I get why he lost the crease and all that. But a 27-year-old guy who, technically, he should have been considered a rookie if he wasn't. He would have been considered a rookie if he wasn't 27 years old.
If Artemi Panarin didn't exist.
Yeah. But, that's wild that this team won the Stanley Cup with a waiver claim.
Well, who were the final 4 goalies? Scott Wedgwood, career backup.
Trade acquired for a 6th-round pick.
Freddie Anderson, who was drafted twice.
Yeah. But even another guy who, Carolina obviously got him and paid a bit to get him at the time. But an aging goaltender coming off a mediocre regular season.
Jakob Dobus, right?
Yeah.
And the other one was obviously
Rookie.
Carter Hart.
Yeah.
4 years ago. 3 years ago, what would you have said about all 3 of those guys? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hart would have been in court.
It's wild, man. It's wild. Again, we'll dissect the Cup final when our friend Jeff Marek pops in. But there's a lot for us to get to, including the news, which is brought to you by. Do we not have? Is Movember a DFO thing? Not a this thing?
You could do.
Oh, yes. The news today is brought to you by our friends at Bright Dental. This segment is a presentation of Bright Dental, family dental office located in St. Albert. Open Monday to Friday, 8 to 8. Bright Dental is a Blue Diamond Invisalign provider. You can schedule your free dental scan with them today. They also offer a full range of dental services. Of course they do, including same-day crowns. Give Bright Dental a call to book an appointment at 780-458-2333. Or for more information, go online, brightdental.ca. All right. One of the things that's coming out of the little post-Stanley Cup Final news cycle, Elliot Friedman believes that if the Golden Knights don't bring back John Tortorella, he could be a candidate for the Oilers or Leafs coaching job. It sounds like it's very early reporting, but there's a very real chance John Tortorella is not brought back as the head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights. It seems like their plan, and this is something Marek talked about with us before, they have Ryan Craig sitting in the minors, and they want to give him this job. If Torts becomes an option, do the Oilers scrap the Babcock plan?
I don't really understand the Babcock thing still. We didn't get a lot of new information over the weekend, but you would have to imagine Torts is someone that hits the criteria that they would want.
Yep.
So Freeman was more hot on Toronto than Edmonton, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And kind of talked about a couple of things, saying Kyle said on the show as well that Torts was also curious to see what was going to happen. His contract is until June 30th. And also that they felt from conversations with Torts and stuff that he had said that the fit in Vegas was just too perfect. So does that worry you a little bit in terms of did it just work because of the scenario he was in and the situation and all that, which is fine. Can he do it in Edmonton? I don't know. But it's something I would question, I guess. But I think he's more than capable, too.
Yeah, I think he'd be a good fit. Someone pointed out that when he coached in Vancouver, he apparently lived across the border in Seattle and would drive an hour to the rink every day. Or lived across the border towards Seattle, not necessarily in Seattle.
It's a long drive from Montana.
But, there might be a part of that. Torts might be like, hey, I don't want to coach in Canada. I don't like living in Canada. He is an American. He could very well do that. The idea of the fit being perfect, I think, makes a lot of sense. There are some criticisms to throw at John Tortorella for how he handled this Stanley Cup Final.
Yeah, the goalie.
Well, the goalie, he could not figure out a way to get Jack Eichel away from Jordan Staal. Mm-hmm. He either couldn't figure it out or chose not to figure it out.
Which, I think a bit of both.
But, that stubbornness, Jack Eichel had a goose egg because he was losing 70% of the faceoffs he was in because he had to keep going out on the ice with Jordan Staal. There's something to be said that if they could have gotten Eichel away from Jordan Staal more, maybe they get an extra goal or two and they win an extra game in this series. And you never know, right?
You know who else did that? Knobloch.
Yeah.
literally was called out by his captain after Game 6 of just saying kept doing the same thing over and over again.
Something that cost the Oilers is their inability to handle Florida's forecheck.
Yeah.
Look at how Vegas crumbled in those last, again, I'll keep going back to those last 7 periods because it felt like there was such a stark, like, flip switch moment in the third period of Game 4 where all of a sudden Vegas was just turning over pucks left, right, and center. And every little bit of pressure that Carolina put on them resulted in Vegas coughing up the puck. If you go back and watch that first, the Jackson Blake goal from the game last night, there's like 3 turnovers before that goal.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And yes, so relentless. Carolina deserves a lot of credit for that. But Vegas kept coughing up pucks. So I don't know. I do like Torts. I would like Torts more than I would like Mike Babcock. My preference would still be Bruce Cassidy. But
the other thing that Freeman said today, which wasn't what I really wanted to hear, was how pissed off Vegas is about all of this. And like they don't see it as like we just ran out of gas. Like they want answers as to why this failed, I guess, in their vision. Does that piss them off even more on like the Cassidy front? I think it would piss them off in the terms of like if they're seeing the same things you're seeing in terms of like Torts' style and like what does that do? I don't know. I think they're just an interesting team, aren't they? They do definitely beat to their own drum.
Chris Johnston did kind of say on Friday, it was after our show, that it sounds like Babcock's going to be able to work and the NHL wants to get this investigation wrapped up shortly. This was on the Chris Johnston show, quote, "I've seen other reporting, but I know people that were right there and kind of have a sense of exactly what happened. They think he's going to be allowed to work." There was also the Friedman line where I guess some of the Blue Jackets players who were in that room are a little bit like, and I'm paraphrasing here,
I heard
but
this
like
too.
rolling their eyes and being like, why are we bringing this up 3 years later? Like, why do we have to rehash this whole thing? So it seems like they're almost irritated that this is being made into a story again and an investigation's getting opened up where like things might come to light.
The NHL should have just done this 3 years ago.
Yeah.
When everyone was like had their emotions about it and like there were some things I don't remember, but I would say to those, I'd be curious who those players were. Is it the guys who actually didn't like it, or is it a guy like Boone Jenner who at the time was like, it was fine by me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like the Carolina room was like a little bit split on how they felt
Columbus
about things. Columbus was split on how they truly felt about the whole situation. But I think the PA did the right thing to step up and defend guys, because there might be a guy in that room who is still pissed off that it wasn't investigated.
Yeah.
And they want Babcock to be done. You
'Cause
know what I
again-
mean? Like, it's two sides to it.
And I think part of the reason that room was split is because Babcock wasn't doing it to the Boone Jenners and the Johnny Gaudreaus.
Yeah.
He was doing it to the young guys who were 19 and 20 years old. So
Yeah, agreed.
Anyways, that coaching story obviously hasn't died yet from an Oilers perspective. What do you think this is wrapped up before July 1, the coaching thing?
Yes.
Yeah, you think it's
I
next
think they
week?
I think they have to. When is the draft?
The draft is next week, next Friday or whatever.
I think they have to have it done by then. You can't keep operating with vacancies. Mm-hmm. And I know you can
26th
argue
and 27th, so like next Friday, I think, is the draft.
Oh, the one after.
Yeah, the one
Yeah, you can't operate that way. You got to have people in the positions that you need them to be in, and you need to start having meetings. Whether it's Babcock, whether it's not, like, if he's the guy, it is what it is. Just make him that coach. Mm-hmm. And then we can just move on or whatever. But the others got to start moving here. There's a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah, not too much more reporting on the Darnell Nurse front as we wrap up the news. But Friedman did have a line about that, right?
Yeah, he just said that this was on it wasn't on 32 Thoughts. It was on a radio hit he did.
Yeah.
Said that $7 million Darnell Nurse is quite valuable to teams. Mm-hmm. And he believes this could be a hockey trade, which is music to my ears. I don't like them for retention. I know we're kind of split on that, but if you can actually get a couple of good players back for this, then yeah, it's fine. Whatever.
I'm fine with retention as long as the team is better. And one of the things that is interesting about like Carolina, so Carolina won the cup with however much cap space they had this year, right? 8-9 million, whatever the number was. is there a difference between having that cap space unused or having it be dead? I know it like.
No, you're right. If you're not going to use it, but the Oilers always use it.
I know, but the Oilers also are in a spot where they have some bloated contracts, which obviously, Carolina also won the Stanley Cup with a $4.8 million player sitting in their press box, and Jesperi Kotkaniemi, and never even got a sniff of playing in the playoffs, which is pretty wild.
I think the other thing with Carolina, when they said like they're going to be around forever, and I know I mentioned the owner already, but it's just like, will they? This cap starts going a bit through the roof here, and they're so far under it. Eventually, the league's going to just go back to what it was in the late 90s, early 2000s, where it's just like big money wins.
Yeah, there's going to be a rich-poor divide at some point in the NHL, because we even heard it last year with places like Ottawa, and I think Calgary is maybe in that boat or was in that boat, where like, that floor is going to creep up to a point where like teams will spend to the floor, and that's it. And teams won't have, especially with the Canadian dollar, which is why I think you bring up the Winnipegs and the Calgarys and the Ottawas, like, if the Canadian dollar sucks and the cap's going to be 130, 140 in 4 or 5 years, there's going to be Canadian organizations who are like, we're not doing that. And then there's also going to be a really interesting sort of flip in something where, like, you can look at a guy like Darnell Nurse, and there are better examples of this, but Darnell Nurse next season, once his signing bonus is paid, his total salary is $2 million. There would be teams in the future who will look at a guy like that and be like, yo, I can save myself $6 million on the cap, like in hard cash next year once the Oilers pay out that bonus.
So the one thing on Nurse's contract, which is interesting, I didn't know you could even do this. I feel like, firstly, doesn't it feel like every time seems like we've got this contract stuff nailed down with like what the rules are and everything is just a completely different obstacle?
Yeah.
Freeman said that Nurse just gets his contract bonus periodically throughout the season. Like, he doesn't just get $6 million on whatever day typically everyone does. He'll get $2 million this day, $2 million this day, $2 million this day. And Erik Karlsson has the same thing in his contract.
Oh, so
it's not just Nurse. It's like multiple players around the league that do this, which is odd. I didn't know you could do that, but apparently you can. So once you think
I didn't know that either. I always thought they had to be paid out on July 1.
I did too. And that's what Freeman said. Because someone asked him the exact question on Nurse.
Yeah.
And he said, he's like, I always thought it was this way, and I was wrong on Karlsson, so I will correct myself now. He gets paid 3 times throughout the season. But your point is correct. There are guys like that.
Yeah. I was just reading there was a reporter in Pittsburgh, Josh Yohe, who has a piece on what the Penguins could do on the trade market. And I was hoping he'd say something a little interesting about Nurse, because Frank even has said Pittsburgh's the first team that comes to mind with him and Darnell Nurse. So Darnell Nurse's name's popped up. It's hard to believe Dubas would make a pure hockey trade for Nurse given the 31-year-old's recent struggles and staggering contract. There was a plausible trade scenario for Nurse to end up in Pittsburgh, but it would likely require the Oilers to include a sweetener, such as retaining some of his salary or absorbing Ryan Graves' contract. So,
nope.
But that's where it gets interesting if what Friedman's saying, like, if the only way you can get Darnell Nurse off your books at 9.25 is to take on Ryan Graves at 4.5 or JT Compher at $5 million, that's when I sit there and go, okay, I get that some people groan at having dead money on the books. I'd much rather have 2.25 just kind of sitting there doing nothing than 4.5 of Ryan Graves.
I agree.
So
I'd rather have Nurse.
Oh, yeah. So that's why, if that's going to be the debate here of like, that's just why the Oilers can't be stubborn is what I'm trying to say. And like, if there's a team out there sounds like there's going to be multiple teams out there who, if you get him down to $7 million, are all of a sudden saying, oh yeah, we like him at that number. I even read like Dom Luszczyszyn's market value based on his data is like $5.8 million. Like, that's hardly an overpay now we're talking about, right? Like, we're splitting hairs.
That was for Nurse. He was 5.5.
Yeah, 5.8. So like, if you all of a sudden get him to 7, and now Pittsburgh saying, well, we have the money and we like what he brings to our blue line, we're in on that. But then San Jose saying, oh, hey, we're in on that too. And Philly likes him and LA likes him. And all these teams are sitting there putting up their hand going, oh, it's 7. We actually like the player. That's where we're going to get to a scenario here, hopefully, like knock on wood, where like the Oilers are getting potentially a good piece back. And I don't think they need to be limited to just sitting there and just going, you know, we want this. We want a third-line center or whatever. Pittsburgh has multiple second-round picks in each of the next 4 drafts. They have multiple third-round picks in 2 of the next 3 drafts. Could you go to Pittsburgh and say, hey, we're going to keep $2.25 million. You're going to give us a second and a third round pick?
I think I would want some players back too, but
you can then use that. Like, part of the Oilers' problem right now is that they have no assets to go out and make trades. So if they're going to get a second and a third next year from Pittsburgh, I sit there and go, hell yeah, we're going to go use those picks and go trade for someone.
yeah, I suppose I would like to get that deal done today, like together.
Yeah,
if you're gonna do it, you gotta keep moving, like, because you get $7 million in your cap to what? Go and overpay for someone again in free agency?
No, yeah,
I feel like the players currently in the pool of contracts are the guys you want because they're valued correctly, I guess is probably the correct term for it.
Yeah.
Or even undervalued in some cases. Where, like, you just go to free agency and you grab whatever guy and it's like, oh, no, I have to pay $5 million for Cody Ceci.
Yeah.
As an example. I know he's not a free agent, but you know what I mean?
But, is there something to do? Like, I'm just kind of briefly scrolling through, and this is a project that I could obviously go dig into deeper today and talk about more next or later in the week on the show. But, like, is there a team out there that has an extra defenseman kicking around that you like more than Nurse that costs you? Maybe it's just even the third round pick because you're looking for a third pairing defenseman at this point.
Yeah.
You go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh gives you a second and a third. You take the third. You go get he's a righty, so it doesn't work, but a Nick Perbix because Nashville has an extra defenseman, right? Or you go get one of the lefties from Nashville. Whatever way you go about doing it, you could come out of this and say, hey, we then used the third round pick. We got a defenseman who's making $3 million, who slots really nice now on our third pairing. We just saved ourselves $4 million, and we're sitting in a scenario where, it'd even be a little more than $4 million. And we have a second round pick that we can still go play with, still go add a third line center on the trade market, do something with it. I don't know. I'm starting to believe now with what we've heard over the weekend and that $7 million figure getting thrown around more and more. I really believe that they can come out of this Darnell Nurse trade in a really good spot, which I didn't think that was going to. I thought it was going to be painful. I don't think it's going to be as painful as I once thought.
No, I don't think it'll be that painful either. A few people in the chat chiming in. Apple iPhone says best case for the Oilers is Nurse for future considerations. In a way, I suppose
But
you're
if
somewhat
it's
correct.
the full 9.25, sure.
There's another one here. Gravard. I just don't understand holding $2 million on Nurse to help another team. I know that extra money helps, but does it really if you turn around and sign Kapanen for $3 million a year?
Well, yeah, I'm not saying to free up the cap space and go spend it like a drunken sailor. Like, I'm saying to go do something meaningful and significant with it. But you can, again, it's not even glass half full, glass half empty. You're sitting there and saying, why are you keeping $2.2 million? I'm sitting here and saying, hell yeah, I just got out of 7.
Yeah. Kevy says, do you trust Bowman to make that good trade? I see Arvidsson type 3rd or 4th pick in return. That's it. The thing is, I think people need to understand in the chat, and appreciate you guys chiming in, these are just reports that we're reading and then going off that. Like, this is Elliot Freeman who's going out on radios saying this is what the Oilers might do. This isn't an assumption. It is, I suppose, in a way. But, like, if Elliot's saying it, that's what teams are telling him. And I think there is legit interest for Darnell Nurse if you can get the money down a little bit. I would obviously, and you would obviously, like to get out of all the money. I would just rather get players back than picks back and trust that I can make more trades down the road.
I'm not sure I fully understand Andrew's question here, because if we trade Nurse and use the money on, say, re-signing Murphy or Dickinson, let's call it Murphy, we have no money for replacing him or Wallman. I don't quite get what you're saying, because if I free up $7 million from trading Darnell Nurse, and let's just say again, I'm out of it for nothing, $7 million out the door, and then I use $4 million of that to re-sign Murphy, and then I go make another trade for a $3 million defenseman, I have Murphy and that other defenseman for the $7 million I freed up on Nurse. I got 2 players for 1, and we just finished talking about how if Nurse is down to $7 million, you're probably getting an asset or 2 for doing that deal. So now I have 2 defensemen and 2 assets for the cost of Nurse, and all I had to do was eat $2.2 million. Like, that's where I'm sitting here going, there's a path to this making a ton of sense. He's saying the $7 million will not replace Nurse. Yeah, it should if you're smart. Like, I agree, you can't be dumb with this. You don't just go take $7 million and give it all to Connor Murphy. Like, that would be stupid. You don't go give $6 million of it to Connor Murphy. You go try to get Connor Murphy for a good market value deal of $4 to $4.5 million, and then you go find another good market value defenseman at $3 million. And then you also have assets from the Nurse trade that you can use up front. Because the other part of this is the Edmonton Oilers aren't as screwed to the cap as a team like Vegas.
That's what I was thinking as well, is that they don't just have to move Nurse to create cap space. They still have $60 million plus a potential 7 or 9, whichever they get out of a Nurse.
So the Oilers have $14.5 million in cap space with 11 forwards, 5 D-men, and a goalie signed. So let's quick math. You lose 7 on Nurse. You use that money to sign 2 defensemen. You now have $14.5 million with your full top 6 sorted out. You give $1.5 to Spencer Stastny to be your 7th defenseman and work a platoon with someone. All right, now we're down to $13 million. Let's say you want to bring back Connor Ingram for $3 million. You're down to $10 million, and all you need to do is sign 1 or 2 forwards with that money. You can sign, like, if you can get out of this Nurse deal at around $7 million and be smart with that cap space, replacing him on your blue line, you can go get Alex Tuck.
I think they should go get Alex Tuck.
But you can go get Alex Tuck quite comfortably, Liam.
Yep. And I think that's an interesting one. I want to ask Jeff about that too, because it sounds like they're not really that close in Buffalo.
Sounds like he could be heading to market. Correct.
But you look at this Carolina blue line, and there's a couple of guys who don't have deals now, but they don't make a ton of money there either. No. None of them really do. So I think you can't replace Nurse for $7 million. You can do that. You just have to be smart about the way you do it. And it doesn't need to be one player. Mm-hmm. It can be a committee thing. There's multiple ways you can go around trying to get a replacement for potentially Darnell Nurse, if it happens.
We'll do one mock trade, and then we'll get to our guest line. A Utah fan is in our chat.
Welcome.
Utah fan here. Would you do a 3rd-round pick and Brandon Tanev's contract for Darnell Nurse retained down to $7 million?
No.
Tanev's at 2.5. I mean, that's one there where I'd view, if you view Brandon Tanev as a negative asset, which maybe you'd look at him and go, hey, he can help the Oilers in their bottom 6, whatever. I would view Brandon Tanev's contract as the 2.5 we're keeping. And I would say I would do Tanev straight across for Nurse. I wouldn't want to retain more. Because then again, you're just eating into your savings without filling any of the hole that Nurse leaves. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I love that idea, but again, if Utah was one of those teams who was like, "Hey, we're interested in him,"
I wouldn't do that at all.
I don't think Brandon Tanev.
Season.
Yeah, he's not that good. Utah, I also don't know if they're a great fit because you look at the blue line and it's Sergachev, Uyghur, Dursey, Marino, Schmidt, Simashev, Maverick, Lamoureux. They could probably bring back Ian Cole for another year if they wanted him to be their 7th or 8th. They got young guys, and they have enough. They spent for Mackenzie Weegar at the deadline. I just have a hard time believing they're going to be jonesing for a Darnell Nurse. I don't think they're a fit. Also, what we heard about Nurse wanting to go out east and all that, I think that'll probably play a factor in it as well. I'm not sure if Utah's on the list of teams Darnell Nurse is going to be willing to waive his no-trade clause to. But, all right, Stanley Cup's been handed out. Lots to get to on that front. Little off-season talk. Jeff Marek joins us on our Prairie Toyota guest line. Looking to dominate off the ice as much as your team does on it, then check out the Toyota Tacoma. Its standard I-Force engine boasts an impressive towing capacity of up to 6,400 pounds. In fact, it's the most powerful Tacoma ever. So whether you're hauling gear to the rink or heading to an away game, you can tackle it with ease. Experience power, capability, and convenience with the Toyota Tacoma. And now, right now, they have a special offer. Liam, you ready to hear this? You can lease a 2026 Tacoma from $110 weekly at 5.69% APR financing for 60 months with how much down?
$6,000.
$7,099 down, Liam. Not bad, not bad. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Prairie Toyota dealer. It's time to Toyota. It's time to talk to Jeff Marek, our friend from The Sheet, which streams every weekday on the Daily Face off YouTube. How you doing, Jeff?
That was a fun season, hey? Fun season final. Dominating performance by the Carolina Hurricanes, 16-3. As we all know, that was as close to a dominant postseason as we've seen from any team in quite some time. I'm not sure where you guys put that on your sort of scale of best Stanley Cup finals we've ever seen. I've always used the bar of 87 Edmonton and Philadelphia alongside Vancouver Rangers in 1994. But this was the first time that I kind of said they're getting close to that. You'll need a Game 7 to get there fully, but like that was the first time I was like, you know what? They're getting close to those two glorious Stanley Cup finals.
And that's where, again, Carolina just being dominant kind of ruined that. The final 7 periods of this Cup final was all Carolina. The first 3 rounds of this Stanley Cup playoffs was all Carolina. And there were people yesterday in my mentions who were doing the whole, don't give Carolina too much credit. They had a pretty easy path. I sit there and go, they played playoff teams. Like, it's not like the NHL was like, you know what, we're letting the Blue Jackets in this year so Carolina can smoke them. Like, these were all playoff teams, and they beat the shit out of them.
You know who was really good against Carolina? And again, it was a sweep. Ottawa.
Yeah.
That was a really good Ottawa Senators team, I thought, in the playoffs that the Hurricanes played. Now, we're going to look at the route here to get to the Stanley Cup final, and you're going to go like, oh, I smoked them 4-0. I don't know about you guys, but that did not feel like a 4-bagel series. But nonetheless, here's the thing. They earned their rest. They earned their rest. You normally along the way when you win the Stanley Cup, you say to yourself, a team's going to need like one gimme series. The Hurricanes had 3. Yeah. Okay, like they had 3. They earned their rest. They didn't really know what to do with that one massive break between the Philadelphia Flyers and the Montreal Canadiens series. But at the same time, this was a really smart, efficient team. Like that's the one thing that I'll take away from this one. The Carolina Hurricanes were efficient. They really, really were. It was a buzzsaw going through all these teams, and I heard the same thing. Oh, Carolina's going through nobody. Oh, they're gonna get knocked around here by the Vegas Golden Knights. You're gonna see what a real team is like. This is an impressive Carolina Hurricanes team, and if they want, they can run the whole thing back next year. A couple of little tweaks here and there. I just don't think that Eric Tulsky is that kind of guy.
What do you make of the way this team was built? I mean, obviously the past few years we've seen him go get Gensel, Rantanen at the deadline. No one at this deadline, but it seemed like they just got all their business done in the free agency period with Miller and Ehlers.
So Nick Delorier was their trade deadline pickup, and it's funny too because a lot of people in the organization after what happened last year around with the Florida Panthers. Playoffs were sort of howling for we need some toughness in here. We need the security blanket, and Carolina came out this year as a much more aggressive team. I think the Delorier factor. We just had Aaron Ward on the program, Cup champion with Carolina from 2006, and he's like, Nick Delorier played one game. Nick Delorier was in there in that one game against the Ottawa Senators, and even though they don't flood the room, I get that. But having a guy like that around, that if you want to get dumb, if you want to fire rocks against the wall, like we got a guy that can do that if you want. And like last time I checked, like my dad's tougher than your dad when you have Nick Delorier. So there's that sort of vibe about it. But this is a roster that's constructed very smartly, right? Like this is one where you start to see where Eric Tulsky and his staff understand that there's a challenge to being a manager, and being a manager when it comes to Carolina is finding a roster that can play for Rod Brind'Amour and how they play. It is really hard in the NHL. Patrick Waugh tried it when he first started with the Colorado Avalanche a million years ago to play man-on-man in the defensive zone. It's really hard to do. Carolina does it effortlessly, but it's a really taxing way to play. Like one of the things that Taylor Hall talked about when he joined the Carolina Hurricanes was like conditioning. And anyone that joins a team recognizes right away, like this is a really well-conditioned team. And what Carolina does is they grab you by the ankle and they drag you into deep water and they say, this is where we're going to swim. Let's see how long you can come out here and tread water with us. That's what Carolina does. I get that it's not everyone's favorite brand of hockey to play. I've always said the Carolina Hurricanes are an quest, to be polite. I like it because I'm invested in these players. So the construction is such that Eric Tulsky embraces the role of general manager in that. And the example that I always give is like, Liam, if I told you there was a team in the NHL that let go of a back end that included Brett Pesce, Brady Shea, Dougie Hamilton, Brent Burns, Dmitry Orlov. You would probably say, well, that team's blue line must suck. They let go of all those NHL defensemen. And they may have and probably do have the best back end in the entire NHL still. A lot of that goes to Rod Brind'Amour. A lot of it goes to Tulsky for identifying and securing these players. But I think that like Tim Gleason doesn't get enough credit, who handles the defense on the Carolina Hurricanes. Jeff Daniels, who handles the forwards on the Carolina Hurricanes as well. Here's the thing about Carolina. It's one thing to identify those players. Like, you have to be athletic and you have to be smart to play on the Carolina Hurricanes. You have to be able to react quickly. You have to have the right instincts. You have to be able to give out bad information, whether it's with your hands or with your feet. And to a player, Carolina does that. But what Carolina also does at the same time, you guys notice how everybody on Carolina gets better?
Yeah.
How Keandre Miller got better, Sean Walker got better, Shane Gostisbehere got better. Taylor Hall hasn't played like this since he won the Hart Trophy. Nick Ehlers got better. Go right down the list. Everybody on this team gets better. And I think this is the perfect combination of the general manager and the head coach in perfect sync with one another. That's how I feel. And they're in perfect sync with each other. And now the question is, now that they have the rings in the room, right? A lot of guys with rings there now. In order to keep it fresh and keep it dynamic and keep the team on top of themselves, Glenn Sather would always, when he was coaching the Oilers, when he was running the Oilers in the 80s, high-flying team and all that, best team in the world, he would always say, every year you have to change the roster by 10 to 15% just to keep it fresh and keep it inspired. So now, where once upon a time was we got to bring in guys that have done it before, now it's almost the reverse. Yeah. Now it's we need to bring guys that haven't done it before, that are so hungry for their rings. That's the next challenge for Tulsky.
I think one thing with Carolina, which is interesting, is like Bettman said it yesterday, is for the past 8 years, they've had the most wins in the regular season. Obviously, this is the year they finally got it done. You mentioned all those players they've lost. Rantanen didn't work out, Gensel didn't work out. Mm-hmm. But then they've also been able to draft all these players that currently aren't even on their team and keep them around. It just seems like, I know every team in the NHL obviously has a plan, but their plan is just way further ahead than everyone else's. And I just wonder, what do you think the league can learn from what the Carolina Hurricanes do?
Different people I'm so glad you asked this. You got us to a really good place, which is an interesting place. I was just mentioning this on the show. There used to be a band that I loved called the Disposable Heroes of Hypocrisy. Michael Franti was the guy that put it all together. And he broke up the band suddenly because in his voice, in his words, he said, when everybody's chanting, nobody's thinking. He hated the fact that he would be performing at concerts and everybody would be chanting the same thing back to him. So he broke up the band. The thing about hockey, and this is true of a lot of sports too, it's very comfortable to be around people that you agree with and who agree with you. And you're sitting around the table and a lot of it is good idea, boss, and there's not disagreement. If you look what Eric Tulsky has done, there's plenty of traditional hockey people in that Carolina Hurricanes organization. The best example of that is their head coach, Rod Brind'Amour. But for all the Rod Brind'Amours, there are Tyler Delos. Oilers fans will remember MC79 hockey, right? There's Ellen Etchinghams, who wrote, for my money, maybe the best hockey blog I've ever read, called The Theory of Ice. There's a Dennis King as a scout who wrote for MC79 hockey. There's a lot of people around the table that didn't come up through hockey the exact same way and don't think the exact same way. There's plenty of those people around. I think one of the big lessons of the Carolina Hurricanes is Eric Tulsky is able to value a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of hockey life and balance off how they feel about everything around everybody else at the same table. Because if you have all the same people saying the exact same thing around a table, you're going nowhere. That's Michael Franti and Disposable Heroes. Everybody's chanting, nobody's thinking. And I think that Tulsky really does embrace the idea of doing a general manager's job. Like when the Carolina Hurricanes lose a player to free agency, he doesn't have a temper tantrum. He says, well, it's my job to go find someone to replace him. And he embraces that challenge. And he embraces the job of being a general manager. And instead of panic and saying, oh, we gotta give Pesce what he wants because where are we going to go find another Pesce? Tulsky says, I'm going to go find another Pesce. That's my job because I'm the general manager of this team.
And I'm going to find him for 60% of the price, and he'll slide right in and work. And, like, that's where I think it's going to be hard for other teams to, like, copy what the Carolina Hurricanes are doing because you can't copy smart.
But there's a lot of smart people that are out there. You just have to be comfortable hearing people disagreeing with you, right? And Tulsky's that guy. Like, you think about like, the stories you hear about Tulsky at meetings. He sits back, and he thinks. And he takes everything in. Aaron Ward just told a story about a presentation that him and his group gave Eric Tulsky on analytics that lasted about an hour, and Tulsky didn't say a single thing. He sits and he takes it all in, and he evaluates, and he values somebody's opinion. Like, these people are out there. These people exist in the hockey universe. Carolina is like one of the first ones to pull it all together. Now, Tyler, you bring up a really good point, and that is, I wonder now, like we've seen with the Florida Panthers, I wonder how many teams are out there saying, we need to maybe bring someone in from Carolina who's available to see how they do things there, whether it's managers, whether it's scouts, whether it's whomever. Like, how did they do this? How are they able to bring all of this together? Now, Tulsky's is a very interesting guy to begin with a very unique skill set. So, Tyler, I think you're right. But it's not as if these people don't exist around hockey. It's just a matter of, once upon a time, like, man, like, Dello got mocked when he got hired, right? He was on the ice last night with the Stanley Cup. Like, Dello got ravaged for years. He's got a Stanley Cup, man. Eric Tulsky was the same way. Oh, here come computer boys. Oh, what does your computer say about hockey? Those guys want to Stanley. Ellen Etchingham, theory of Stanley Cup. Like Sonny Meta. Okay, Stanley Cup, Florida Panthers. Like, hello, I know hockey comes to everything last. Yeah. But this one's right in your face now. Because the Carolina Hurricanes have always been that poster team. Like the computer boys, here we go, hockey on a spreadsheet. Yeah, it just won a Stanley Cup. And there's a lot of value once you realize that you don't have all the answers, but everybody has a piece of the puzzle. And I think Tulsky's able to bring that together better than most.
Flipping to the other side here with Vegas. I pull up their Puckpedia, my favorite website. I go, oh boy,
yes,
even with Pietrangelo on LTIR, they have 13 and a bit in cap space. Dorofeyev, Anderson, they only have 9 forwards.
Dorofeyev?
They only have 4 defenders.
Oh, you don't say it, Dorofeyev.
Yeah, well, but my question with Vegas is like, how are they going to navigate this offseason?
Like they always do. Like I will say one thing about Vegas that I've always admired. Vegas does this thing every year where they make a hash of their salary cap during the year, and they don't care because they clean it up in the summer. They do it every year. We always think, how are they going to do it? Kelly McCrimmon does it every year. They'll make a mess of their salary cap during the year, and we'll sit here and go like, oh, Kelly McCrimmon's in for it now, and then they'll clean it up because they don't make emotional decisions. You can make the argument that like their souls turn black and they just make their calls. And that's it. And no one should be surprised by any of it because that's how Vegas operates. But I know, like what I hear, like when you see like what's going to happen next year with the salary cap situation, you start to wonder about we all talked about Dorofeyev offer sheets and these types of things. Like, sure, why not? Like I wonder about a lot of offer sheets. I wonder about Maverick Bork. I wonder about Leo Carlson in Anaheim. I wonder if a team like the St. Louis Blues could be one of the friskier ones. And it's not like they haven't done it before. And now they have a new general manager coming in who wants to plant a flag here. Vegas will do it the way they always do it. They'll just make really cold, hard decisions that we will criticize and they won't care. And they'll still be a competitive team.
Kind of like the...
Do we think otherwise? Like, really?
No,
like, do we think otherwise? Like, it's what Vegas does.
They got rid of the Vezina winner for a 7th round pick.
Yeah.
I don't really. Yeah, they just kind of do what they want. And they figure it out, and they get to Cup Finals. And maybe it's the way a lot of teams should operate. I don't know, but I'm curious, Jeff, what you thought. So the Oilers obviously made some management changes a week or two ago. A couple of guys got promoted. Kurt Hill came in from the Oil Kings. Like, do you see them becoming a more like progressive organization, I guess you could call it, in terms of like trying to bring in like different
There's a big test.
I know Mike Babcock.
There's a big
and all
test.
That, but, you know.
No, I know. Like we can get into that. There's a big test. I'm glad you mentioned that because there's a big test coming there, and that is the Darnell Nurse trade. And maybe not so much the player or players or whatever they get from trading Darnell Nurse, but what they do with the extra cap space. Like, I'm assuming at the end of all of this, Edmonton is going to end up with more cap space. To me, the litmus test of how seriously that they're taking, like, we need to have, like, an analytic advantage or start using that to our benefit is what they're going to do with that cap space that they save. How are they going to allocate that? Because smart teams go find players. How are you going to allocate that money? And I can't give you an answer until we see what the Nurse trade is, because I think honestly, Liam, I think that's the first test. What are they going to do with what they get and what they use the cap space for?
And big first test.
Well, and to bring this kind of all
huge,
full circle,
massive, yes.
When you free up your $7 million, let's say they keep 2.2, so they freed up 7. Are you giving Brady Shea 7, or are you giving Sean Walker and Shane Gostisbehere 6.8? Like, that's a good organization and a bad organization, right? Like, that's kind of the question here.
You know, Carolina, I'm trying to think of how I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
Carolina is like the real definition of a team. Do you see who led the team in ice time last night?
No.
See who led Carolina in ice time
Was
last
it
night?
Martinook or someone like that?
Was not Martin. It was Sean Walker, 2350. Wow. Sean Walker played junior C hockey. Mm-hmm. Right? Sean Walker wasn't a drafted player. Sean Walker, I think he actually met his agent at a funeral, who got him in touch with Rob Blake, who was another Bowling Green guy too. Like, Sean Walker to me is one of the great stories of this Carolina Hurricanes team. There's a whole lot of, I'm going to prove you wrong about me. They bring in a lot of guys that have something to prove. You think Gostisbehere had something to prove? You don't think Keandre Miller had something to prove after the Rangers experience? Yeah. You don't think Taylor Hall's looking at his career going like did you guys... Taylor Hall did something last night that no one has done in the history of the NHL. You know what that is?
No.
He's the first player in the history of this game to get drafted first overall, win the Hart Trophy, and then the Stanley Cup with 3 different teams.
Wow.
Drafted by the Oilers, Hart Trophy with the Devils, Stanley Cup with the Hurricanes. He's had one of the most freakish careers in the history of our sport ever, and he still has something to prove. You guys remember the Taylor Tyler conversations?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
right, all of it, and everywhere he's gone in his career, always the questions. Oh, first overall draft pick, yeah, never amounted to end. He finally won his Stanley Cup, and he looked like a different player. How many guys get stronger, more physical, more aggressive outside of Gary Roberts, which he actualized when he was with Carolina, interestingly enough, as their career gets older, as they get older through their career? We just saw Taylor Hall do that. And no one's ever done that. He won a Hart Trophy with New Jersey. He was first overall at the Edmonton Oilers, and he won a Stanley Cup with the Carolina Hurricanes. Why? Because he had something to prove. You don't think Nick Ehlers had something to prove? It's a collection of guys that have something to prove. Sure, Svechnikov's second overall draft pick, but it's not as if they're rocking in here with like a murderer's row of top 3 picks. They're just not. Jacob Slavin's not that guy. All these players. Bussy comes in, career minor leaguer. He becomes an incredible story. It's full of guys that have something to prove, and they understand the idea of this being like a capital T team. There are no superstars here. Interestingly enough, the owners always tried to go out and get superstars. They had Rantanen, didn't work out. Gensel, didn't work out. They were in the conversation for Jack Eichel before he went to the Vegas Golden Knights. Obviously didn't get him. Like, the owner sees the value of stars, where the general manager sees, I'm trying to put a team together here with Rod Brindamore. And that combination, alongside a really smart bench, just means players are going to get better and players are going to sacrifice for one another. How happy was that whole team when they gave the cup to Freddie Anderson? How happy was that team when they did this early, when they gave the cup to Nick Delorier? You see how happy everybody was for Nick Delorier? I'm sorry, man. That's a team. There are no superstars. And I mean that. I mean no disrespect to any of those players. There are no superstars on the Carolina Hurricanes. There's none. There's none. They're really good players.
Time flies when we have you on, Jeff, so I don't want to keep you much longer, so you can be quick, 30 seconds.
What's up?
But do you think Mike Babcock's going to be the coach of the Oilers? We got to ask you before. Like, what's this investigation? What's happening behind the scenes?
I don't know what this new information that's all been spoken about. I've really wondered, if it is as bad as it has been presented, why it isn't out there yet, previous to Babcock getting hired, because Mike Babcock's been at Pinata for a long time, and all the stories continue to go out there. And CJ was mentioning this on social media on the weekend too, that it's believed that it's nothing that's going to be disqualifying. So unless miraculously the Vegas Golden Knights allow Bruce Cassidy to talk to the Edmonton Oilers, it sounds like that's the road they're going down. So I would say yes. And man, are we loaded up for another interesting season with the Oilers if that happens? That's a protein shake for this show, I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah. All right, Jeff, as always, thank you so much for popping on, and look forward to the off-season talk on the sheet this week.
Here it comes. Thanks, boys. Be good.
There you go. Jeff Marek from the sheet, always generous with his time. Appreciate him popping on. He'll have the run of all his great usual guests, from the Pagnotas to the McGuires and everyone who pops onto the sheet.
Of course.
It's off-season time, baby.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this Babcock fella.
Mike Babcock, what a guy. Geez, and I'll ask you this, so Aaron, you can chime in if you like. Chat, please do. When he talks about the Carolina Hurricanes, you not think, damn, that's almost the complete opposite of what the Edmonton Oilers are.
Yeah.
Because I sit here and I think they just don't do that. And I don't think it's a case of like, do the Oilers have the people capable of doing it? Just the more I sit here and hear the news on Babcock and other things, like, I always want to know how much involvement Cates has had overall this time.
Yeah.
And, maybe Jeff referred to it a little bit there in Carolina too, where it's like the owner wants the stars, the GM wants the team. Maybe that's a bit of a case here. And the Oilers have the Oilers haven't gone out and to find their stars. The stars have obviously fallen on their laps.
Yes.
And that is what it is. Like, that's going to happen to teams. Carolina did draft Svechnikov second overall, and it just didn't work out in that way. He's still a great player, don't get me wrong, but you know what I mean. And I sit here and I wonder, it's like, are they going to be able to do what you said of, like, do you re-sign Brady Shea, or do you have the balls to just be like, no, let's go get Gostisbehere and Walker? I don't know. I hope so. I just don't know if I'm convinced by it.
But there's another part of this, too, where I think the reason why there won't be a copycat Carolina out there is, like what I said with Jeff, like, is that even possible? Yeah. Like, they won the Stanley Cup with a waiver claim goalie playing their final 2.5 games. If the Edmonton Oilers had Brandon Bussey, do the Edmonton Oilers win the Stanley Cup? No, because I don't think their system in front of their goalie is that good. If the Edmonton Oilers take a chance on not Taylor Hall, but a player like Taylor Hall, do they have the system that properly slots him with two under 25 wingers, or two under 25 line mates, I should say, who are both under 6 foot? Traditionally, that don't work in the Stanley Cup Finals. But it works for Carolina because they have Jordan Staal there to take every single difficult matchup.
70% in face-off dot.
That's an NHL record, as Gary Bettman said.
It's an insane number.
Let's go to the fact that Sean Walker led that final game in ice time. That's impressive. Of course it's impressive. But how many different Carolina Hurricanes defensemen do you think led that team in ice time in different games over the Stanley Cup Final, right?
I guess one other game.
Well, like,
it's being framed like this.
The game before that, it was Slavin at 21:55. Keandre Miller would have had to have a game. Shane Gostisbehere, I bet you, would have had to have a game. The game before that, Slavin again. Chatfield's right behind him, but Miller played 22-45 in that 5-3 win. Like, they just have this ability, and their system is so good that guys can go there, and they also are selective with who they bring in, and they only bring in guys who they know are going to be fits so that everyone can elevate everybody, and everybody can play the role that they're supposed to. There's no square peg round holing going on in, they aren't doing Arvidssons and Skinners and Mangiapanis. They just say, that we have $8 million in cap space left. Should we go sign someone? No, Jack Roslovic, who led their team in 5-on-5 scoring, was sitting as a free agent well into the summer when the Carolina Hurricanes had oodles of cap space to spend, and they went, nah, not a fit. We're good.
I think the other thing, too, is drafting and development and keeping a lot of guys. And, Seth Dallas, obviously a first-round pick. Mm-hmm. Jackson Blake was a fourth-round pick. Alexander Nikushkin was a fourth-round pick. You go down the list, and they've got their entire team is very random where guys came from. But even Slavin, what was he, a second-round pick? I remember, fourth-round pick. And obviously these have come over time, but you look at the players that they have, Bradley Nadeau is their first-round pick, was a World Juniors player, could have probably played on the team this year, but will play next season, so that can afford them to go. Maybe they move on from someone who's we'll just get him and he'll be fine. Because now our other guys have taken the step and won a Stanley Cup with us, and Blake was great, Stankoven, yada, yada, yada. You can afford to do that, where it's the Oilers seem to have got rid of guys and not had a plan to replace them with a similar guy.
Yeah.
You get rid of Connor Brown. That's fine. Sometimes just move on from players. I don't think they should have, but they did. And you get Mangiapane, but it's but they're not the same player. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's something to be said about when a good general manager knows when to be patient and when to push some chips in, right? Mm-hmm. Look at people. I love Jalen Chatfield's game. He is a damn good defenseman. His minute he's played, this was his fourth full season as a Hurricane. His minutes per game in those 4 seasons. Keep in mind, he's 30 years old. So his first season would have been when he was 26 years old. Not a 22-year-old who they said, hey, we're going to develop this guy. But a guy that they looked at and said, he fits our system, we're keeping him. In his 4 seasons, 14 minutes, 15 minutes, 18:53, call it 19. And then this year, finally made the jump to 20 minutes a game. But he didn't just show up, immediately hit as this waiver claim, whatever. They looked at him and said, whoa, we really believe in this player, and he fits our system, so we're always going to find a spot for him, even as we bring in the Walkers and the Gostisbeheres and this, that, Nikishin, all these guys. We're always going to find a role for Jalen Chatfield, and he was playing top-pairing minutes for them as they win the Stanley Cup. Would the Oilers have the patience to and again, I don't want to just take random pot shots, but when you look at Ty Emberson as a 26-year-old, how many people are in our chat right now, if you're to be hey, is Ty Emberson capable of playing top-pairing minutes one day? We've just watched him for 2 seasons. He stinks. Or doesn't stink, but he is what he is. He's a third pairing. Do the Oilers have the patience with the Ty Emberson? Here's the if they believe he is a guy who's capable of one day, growing, if they recognize him as a fit and all of this stuff, do the Oilers have the patience to never include him in a trade? To never say, you know what, he's not worth re-signing because we're aiming higher. There's a sexy prize on the free agent market that we want more than him.
Yeah, probably not. I think even on the other side, it's a very different scenario. One's that Chatfield's kind of near the start of his career-ish, or early in his career. But Brady McNabb is similar, who's that guy was a cast-off by the LA Kings, and now you look at him and I don't know if he ever led them in time on ice as a defenseman, but he was a top pairing guy for them, and he was solid, and he's just a good player. And the other thing at Carolina that's interesting is patience is one thing, but also too we talk about obviously the Babcock, this guy, that guy, whatever. Maybe there should have been more patience with Knobloch, maybe there should have been more patience with Woodcroft, but Carolina allowed those wrinkles to come out of Brind'Amour's game. And he's now just engraved in that organization as probably the greatest person to ever come out of it, as a player and a coach, of course. They're a very interesting team, and I think you're right. I don't know if you can do it. Well, clearly you can do it. They just did.
Yeah.
But
can you replicate it?
The Oilers would have to start to do that today. And
The Oilers would have had to start doing that 2 years ago.
but like they're just not in that spot to
Yeah.
make that happen anytime soon. Is kind of my point.
And again, it's not like they never made missteps. Like people go, someone in there was saying like, oh, Trent Frederick versus Jackson Blake. Okay, Trent Frederick
It's not
versus
a
Jesperi
comparison.
Kotkaniemi.
Yeah.
The Carolina Hurricanes had a $4.8 million guy that they offer sheeted, gave up assets for to get all that stuff. He sat in their press box the whole time. And the Carolina Hurricanes a year ago were, to be fair, getting clowned. Why won't they get a superstar? Every other team gets a superstar and wins. Florida went and just loaded up and got this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. And Florida almost did it in a different way with like brunt force. We're just going to keep getting guys until our lineup is so full of them that we win.
Yeah.
Carolina did it in a different way. They also, again, have certain things that I don't want to say it's luck, but like Jordan Staal makes $2.9 million.
Well, they've just managed their cap so
Yeah,
well.
like that's actually a great point. They've managed their cap so well that when they fuck up on Jesperi Kotkaniemi, it doesn't matter.
They could have overpaid Jordan Staal. They have $12 million in cap space.
Yeah.
They could have given him an extra whatever.
Yeah.
And like maybe Stahl's like a different example, I guess, but it's just like, I don't know. Like Aho, was he like $8 million? And like I don't think Aho's a star by
9.7.
it. He's our best player and doesn't even
Yeah.
hit $10 million.
Yeah.
Or one of, I guess. Supposed to be.
Crazy, man.
And
It's
like that's
crazy.
the thing with like the Babcocks, and we talk about Sutter and all these other guys. Do you not want a guy that can kind of like go through with you? I don't know. And I know they had it. And maybe I'm talking about both sides of my mouth because I also wanted Knobloch fired because I think he did a bad job this past season. But they're an interesting team.
But
Must
again,
be,
like that
must
goes.
be nice.
But that goes back like the Knobloch thing. If you think he's a fit, keep him. Don't
Yeah.
just fire him for the sake of firing him.
Yeah.
So if you don't think he's a fit, fire him because there's a guy out there who you think's a better fit for what you're trying to build. The Oilers' problem is they fire him and then there's no one there, and now they're scrambling, going, "Oh shit, should we just hire Mike Babcock because at least he's a name everyone will recognize?" Carolina wouldn't do that.
Well, even Vegas going to the Cup Final, basically they told Cassidy to kick rocks. They're probably going to tell Babcock to kick rocks, and they're going to hire someone called Ryan Craig, who I thought was the guy we went to school with.
Yeah,
But instead,
he's
it's I don't know who he
Different
is
guy.
still. You know? But like they're going to do it. And the others are going to hire Babcock.
yeah.
Head coach will be Babcock. Assistants will be Woody and McClellan, says JP24.
One more Stanley Cup story, then we'll move on. There is this story going around that is like, I love these because it's the stuff of Stanley Cup legend. So Rod Brindamore brought a cinder block lift into the Canes off-season workouts. So throughout the year, at the end of their workouts, each player would take this cinder block and they'd have to raise it up and do a lift with it.
Okay.
He didn't tell them till the Cup Final, but he brought in that cinder block because it weighs the exact same amount as the Stanley Cup. So from the off-season throughout the whole year, at the end of every workout, he had every single player, he called it a blue-collar press, but he had every single player practice lifting the Stanley Cup. And then when they got to the Stanley Cup Final, he told them basically, you've been preparing for it all year.
Oh,
You've
boy.
been like, that's the stuff that like gives you like goosebumps, being like, man, like what a leader.
Pretty crazy,
You want to
yeah.
talk about like the old leader of men cliche? Like if a guy before the Stanley Cup Final, and granted they only played 13 games to get to the Cup Final,
Crazy.
but even if they had been out of gas and all this stuff, that guy comes in and tells you that, you're ready to run through a wall for him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. What an organization. They've done it differently, and they did it. I'd love to know, because the very ironic part about this, actually it's not ironic at all, is an interesting stat. Carolina was Florida last season, if I'm not mistaken, their on-ice team was like, I think it was $17 million over the cap.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Carolina just won with $12 million under. Like every single season for as long as I can remember, if I actually paying attention, it's always how can we utilize LTIR to maximize our cap space.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Carolina's just coming in and being like, fuck that. Let's just not spend any money. Since their insane story.
Yep.
I just want a cup before I die. Well, I think it will happen. We kind of talk like the others are all full in doom and gloom. Maybe they are. We'll find out. They're not. They still have a good chance, and it just shows with Carolina, if you can still keep getting back there, and the others have good players, and you can find the pieces around them. then maybe you can get it done.
All right. Second last thing. We didn't do our first question for our friends at Capital GMC Buick. He says 70 minutes into his show. Capital GMC Buick is dedicated to providing you with the best possible customer experience, and they are the #1 GM dealership in the country by Dealer Rater for 3 consecutive years. The only GM dealer in Edmonton endorsed by J.D. Power as a dealer of excellence. Check them out online, capitalgmcbuick.ca. They are also the team who won our nation playoff draft.
No way.
Did you see where you finished?
Probably last.
Second.
Shit. Brandon Bussey totally screwed us. I would say the next season, because the goalie, obviously, we made a big mistake. We should just make it, you draft that team's goalies. I think that would be a fun way to do it.
Or you get extra points for being the one who tosses your gloves. If you're that goalie in the net when you win.
Damn, we finished second. By how much?
Let's see. Adam from Capital GMC texted me yesterday. I don't see the points on there. I just see the Capital GMC 1, Aura Farmers 2, Going in Dry 3.
Did you get anything for finishing second? Money back?
No, I don't think so.
No? Damn.
We got a super chat here. Canadian teams, unfortunately, don't have the patience from their fan base to adhere to the kind of system the Canes have built. Maybe.
I don't know.
But it's also not like the Canes ever just sat on their hands. Right? Like, they went and got Rantanen, and then when it wasn't working, they weren't so stubborn that they were like, well, we got him. We just got to trust that it'll work. They were like, all right, fuck this. Out he goes.
I do think sometimes, too, I think he's right, by the way, the Oilers fans to an extent. But, I think sometimes we do act like the people who are sat in the arena at, Carolina games, Vegas games, Utah, Florida, that they just have, no idea what is happening. I mean, and obviously some people do, but, they're all hardcore fans all over North America for their respective teams, and we're just not there, and we don't hear from it because Carolina's not a big market team. But I'm sure their fans were pissed off at the fact of they kept going and getting so close, and then they get there and be like, "Oh, this team sucks," when it matters the most. And I think that's always something to think about. It's just because you don't hear about it doesn't mean it's not happening in that market and in life itself. If you want to get deep.
So our first question for Capital GMC Buick Edmonton, and you can give this an Oilers spin or you can go the whole NHL. The first big piece of news we get this offseason is what? What's happening first?
I thought you were going to ask me what I would change from my draft pool.
No. Well, I know that answer. You wouldn't take Brandon Bussey.
I would take Freddie Anderson.
Yeah.
Well, are you just talking player? If for the Oilers, I would assume it's Nurse. I'm going to eliminate the Babcock stuff because I think it's just happened. To be honest.
So you're not counting that?
No, are you?
I was going to say that. I think by Wednesday or Thursday, we maybe have news on the coaching front.
I suppose.
Maybe the Oilers are doing one more
Would not bringing back Torts count as big news?
Yep.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that one then for an NHL one.
All right.
I think that will happen.
I don't think we're getting the Dylan Larkin trade all that early.
No.
I think it'll happen.
I don't think it needs to happen that early.
I don't think we get Darnell Nurse. Darnell Nurse feels like a day 2 of the draft trade. It'll be the middle of round 3, and you'll hear the Oilers are closing in on a deal to send Nurse to Philly, and you'll look at your phone because it's Saturday, and you'll be like, okay.
Yeah.
No, because then we're gonna have to do a fucking live. I don't want that. There's a good chance I'm on the golf course during round 2 of the NHL draft. Don't do it.
Yeah, you'll be on my bachelor party. We won't be there. We won't be doing a
yeah?
live show.
Or we go live on the bachelor party.
Not a chance. Someone put in the chat. I scrolled away. It's all good. I don't want to read it anyway.
Was someone being negative?
How many Hurricanes writers were calling for management head after their run of losses in Carolina's final? How many hit pieces nationally? Aho not being a leader.
The whole narrative for the last 2 years was that Aho's not good enough to win the cup as your best player.
Yeah, a lot of that actually happened. I mean, you could probably just Google it. I'm sure you'll find some pieces. I mean, it's not the #1 sport there. I don't know what would be in Carolina, Raleigh. I would assume
North Carolina Tar Heels basketball.
Yeah.
The Panthers, I guess, are probably obviously a lot bigger. It's just not huge, but it doesn't mean these things aren't happening. The questions aren't being asked. So, I don't know. I just think it's a bit of a narrow-minded approach. I think every market has, legit haters, I guess. I don't know how many people were calling. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Lots. Maybe Edmonton's it's just different. It's okay to have, different rankings of fans, but like someone put right after is that I have friends in Carolina. They tailgate before games. They love their team. This is a bad narrative always. Exactly. It's just a different fan base.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
And to not win because of hockey bloggers that's a reach. That's a reach.
I think they should.
Carolina
hire
won
hockey
because of hockey bloggers.
Yeah.
Ooh,
The Oilers should
yeah.
hire
Quite
bloggers.
literally.
Ty, there might be an opening for you
It
someday.
could, one day. You wouldn't work for the Oilers?
No.
I would.
No, we got it made right here.
What?
We got it made right here.
You wouldn't work
In
for
like
them?
in like the front office?
Of course.
Oh yeah, I mean if they like want to make me AGM and pay me $250,000
Yeah.
a year, like sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, okay.
If they want me to sit on the sport check panel, I'm good.
Oh, yeah, agreed.
I thought that's what you were
No, no,
asking.
no,
I
like-
was like, no, I don't want to work for the Oilers.
No, management.
Run the team. I believe in you.
No, I couldn't do that. What are some? I mean, I might have traded Stetcher for Bussy.
That's true.
You
I
definitely
mean,
would.
I don't think they would have, but you might have.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done the Jari trade.
No, I wouldn't have done that
I
either.
don't think anyone would have.
No. What is something stupid I would have done though?
You did love Trent Frederick.
I wouldn't have signed him to that. I wouldn't have been
Yeah.
that dumb, but I would have definitely done the Trent Frederick trade. Yeah.
The Oilers fans don't tailgate. Yeah, because we live in Edmonton. If the Oilers fans tailgated, you wouldn't be able to heat up a hot dog. It would just stay frozen on the barbecue.
Yeah.
And you've clearly never been to Greta before a playoff game.
Oh,
All right?
man.
250K will make you happy, Tyler. If the Oilers came to me and were like, because again, these contracts are fully guaranteed, and they gave me a 5-year deal at that money, yes, absolutely. And then they're gonna fire me, and I'm gonna get that money to do nothing.
Hell yeah.
It'll be sick. You
I
can't
would-
tailgate at -30. I did say
No.
that for the Stanley Cup Final, it would have been cool, or like even just for the playoffs. Although this year it was snowing during the playoffs, but like I would like
true.
to see them close off traffic like fully for
Yeah.
that whole area and do like street food and like
Connor
really let it
McDavid
go.
have. That'll get renamed one day, won't it?
Yep.
Is that
Like a
just an
block
open-
party. For
Yeah,
the whole
totally.
thing, yeah.
Okay.
You should be making decisions, man. That's another good one right there.
Yeah. See Oilers.
Blaming Edmonton's lack
Give me a
of
ring.
success because of fan pressure is a heck of a take as they court Babcock.
Yeah. Okay, wrap it up for our friends at Bet365, Liam. Shout out to Bet365. They were home of the 3-goal early payout all season.
They were. You would have got a 3-goal early payout yesterday on
Yeah.
Germany versus Curacao. 7-1 final.
World Cup.
Got that
All right.
fever.
Here's your question for Bet365. Because I was hoping they'd have these odds up, but they don't. We're being patient. I'll wait. Next year's Stanley Cup Final odds.
Edmonton, Carolina.
Who do you think will be the favorite when the book opens?
Edmonton.
Really?
Yeah, probably.
You don't think Carolina will be the favorites to repeat?
Well, it's always Edmonton, Carolina.
Colorado?
Yeah, I don't see Colorado as the 1 and 2 because I just think it'd be if I was to guess the top 5, I would go Edmonton, Carolina, Colorado, Florida, Vegas. Not to put them in East-West order, but that's just how I feel.
My
It's
first
come-
thought was
probably
to
the
say
same.
Florida. If they're fully healthy and ready to go again.
Edmonton are always first.
Yeah.
I don't think Edmonton should be first. I'd like to preface that. But they will be right up there. Toronto's probably going to be a top 10 team.
Yeah, I mean, public money does have
Yeah.
its pull on these things, which is fair.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
So
maybe.
I'd say something like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think my top 3 for next year would go, I think it'll go, not like how I'd rank them, but I think it'll go 1 Carolina, 2 Colorado, 3 Edmonton. I think that'll be the order.
Let's see.
3 will be a tie with Edmonton, Vegas, and Tampa all in one.
Is there a way to go back? Here you go. In October 2024, maybe I could have gone June.
That's
Edmonton-
2 years ago.
Sorry.
2020.
So this was for so this was for the season.
Not if it was written in
Oh,
2024.
right.
You need October
God's sakes.
2025.
Here we go. One moment, please.
We'll wait. Dun, dun, dun. I've been watching a lot of pop culture Jeopardy on Netflix. Very
It's
good.
awesome.
It's very good.
So Carolina, Colorado was first. Carolina was second. Vegas and Edmonton and Florida were all tied for third. So you go. Florida won the cup. Carolina was eliminated in round 2, and they were still first.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I just Google AI. This is what it gave me for upcoming season.
650. Yeah, Carolina, Vegas. Yeah, okay, Tampa. Edmonton's lower than Tampa. Interesting. There's Edmonton, 1,100. Right around Florida. That makes sense. Okay. That's a wrap on today's show. We're back tomorrow. Landon Ferraro joining this week. I think Jason Demers is going to join us this week. Cool. Dave Pagnotta a little bit later on. So we'll have our full run of usuals, some friends. 15 shows till free agency. 14 more after today until free agency. And then we're going down to 3 days a week. So you got 3 more weeks of us at full time, and then we'll knock her back for our summer hours. But thank you to Jeff Marek for giving us a few moments today. And that is a wrap on today's edition of the program. We will see you all tomorrow. Oil up.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you enjoyed today's episode of Oilers Nation Everyday, make sure you hit the subscribe button here on our YouTube to not miss any of our content. We got you covered from interviews, insight, analysis, everything you need to stay up to date on everything around the team. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video.